Hello everybody. I remember last time we discussed page number 94 of Fra lippi. Today we can discuss page number 95 of the same poem. I think last time it was 2-3 lines were left in page number 94. We can begin from there and can finish that, and then we can proceed to page number 95. So last page number 94, last lines were like this. Let's see what the urchin is fit for. That came next. Not over much their way, I must confess. So what happened when Fra Lippi was admitted to monastery? So you know what happens in monastery. He was fit properly. That's why he actually admitted the fact that there he got something that was proper meal and also dress. So this was the benefit for him to be in monastery. But the case is that because in monastery monks are given some job to be done, so he also was to be given a job, and so monastery in that monastery other monks decided that he should be given a job. But the case was that they tried to find first what job he can be fit for, but they ultimately find that he is not going to be fit for anything. This is what he himself is saying. I must confess, not over much their way, I was not their way. What they were expecting from me, I was not that way, I must confess. This is what he says. If you go now for page number 95, we can begin from here. Such a to do, they tried me with their books, Lord, they would have taught me Latin in pure ways. And he's saying that they tried to teach me. You know, in monasteries they have to teach you religious texts and all. And he's saying no, it was not no use for him. It was wastage of time and everything. That's why he's saying Latin in pure ways. They tried to teach me Latin. As in India we talk Sanskrit. That's what there was Latin in that in England. So in Italy actually. So here Latin in pure ways. He's saying. They taught him Latin, and he could not understand. He did not take interest in learning that because he was not of that sort. He was not of thinking of such thing. That's what I'm saying. That monks actually, those who become monks, they all are not same in that sense. They belong to poor families. They belong to different social backgrounds. Just because they are poor, they are admitted to monasteries. So we should not be expecting too much from them. That's our fault somewhere. And this is what he's saying. Flower of the clove, all the Latin I construe is moi lovely. He's saying only thing that I could understand is amo I lovely. It means amo actually is a Latin word that means I love. So he understood that this word only. That was actually the easiest word for him, and that also reflects his nature that he is going to love. He's not going to renounce the things. So amo was the word that he understood. And if you go for the book, page number 25, you will find that. Um Fra Lippo in the notes is written here. Each of the interspersed songs has a fascinating relevance to Fra Lippo's thought process. Each indicates an aspect of his sensibility. So it's talking about when he talks about the names like flower of the clove, all the Latinite construe means interpret, understand, was amo I lovely. So flower of the clove, all the flower of the clove. Now you know in this poem you can find at so many places he just takes the names of the flowers like flower of the clove, flower of the rose, flower of this and that. So also this is talking about his sensibility, his understanding, how he actually used to understand the things around him. And I must say that yes, he was not interested in Latin text, he was not interested in religious text, but the thing is that he was quite an experienced person, a practical one. Why I'm saying this? Because he was stopped for 8 years on the roads, so he had learned to know people, to just read their faces, because these things actually are not taught into your books. These things are actually acquired through experiences. And when a person who is experiencing hard life on a street, watching per day people, seeing their faces, is certainly going to all know all such things. So that's what it's saying, being said here. But mind you, when a boy stops in the streets, 8 years together, as my fortune was, watching folks' faces to know who will fling the bit of hop stripped grey punchy desires, and he's saying that he stopped there for 8 years and he learned there after watching people's faces, their behavior, ki who is going to give him grapes if he's asking for. It's just like a beggar is asking for grapes. Though who the person who is going to offer him, who is not going to offer him, he used to read these faces because he had a lost vast experience of asking and knowing how the people are going to respond to him. And then he's saying the bit of half stripped grape means just left pieces of grape bunch into jars, and who will curse or kick him for his pains, and who is not going to offer him and going to curse him or kick him. This is his experience as an orphan, as a beggar. Who is going to offer him, who is going to kick him, who is going to curse him, and who is going to ask for the police. And this is what he's writing here. Which gentleman, professional and fine, holding a candle to the sacrament, will wink and let him lift a plate and cast the droppings of the wax to sell again. And he's talking about, he's just calling them gentlemen who used to allow him to cast the, left of the, it's written here, droppings of the wax to sell again. So he's just talking about different kind of people who used to allow him certain things, and there who used to despise him for his asking money or asking any favor. Or holla for the eight, and who is going to ask for the eight. Eight stands for policeman. It's kind of eight magistrate. It stands for magistrate, means it's a magistrate means police here. And have him whipped. Whipped means beaten. So he's saying that who is going to offer him something, who is going to allow him to catch waxes in order to sell it again, who is going to offer him left grapes, and who is going to ask for the police and get him beaten. So he's, because of his experience, he knew everything and he watched everything. So his mind was capturing everything. Everything was there somewhere in subconscious of that person's mind. This kind of people are like that, this kind of people are like that. So if you are watching things carefully, so you can, I don't know, I'm not a painter, but I can say, but because you watch carefully things, you can be a painter somewhere, because you have acquired everything, you have learnt everything, and now your mind is working in that direction, that images are fit in your mind, and now those images come out in the form of painting. And this is what is happening to him. How say I, nay, which dog buys with less drop his bone from a heap of apple in the street? He's not talking about men only, he's also talking about the dogs, which is going to, bite him, and the dog which is going to drop bone from the heap of offal in the street. And why soul and sense of him grows so apple, he learns to look up the things, and nonetheless for admonition from the hunger pitch. I had a store of such remarks be sure, which after I found leisure turned to use. He's just saying that he's just describing the things that he was this, that, and all experiences somewhere were captured into his mind. And later on, he's saying that because these were captured into his mind, he could use them in the form of painting. Okay, so this is what is happening to him. I drew main spaces on my copybooks, scroll them within an antiphonary mark, and he's saying that I started painting from there, because he had experiences, he had images in there in his mind, so he started painting them, writing them on antiphonaries. Mars means somewhere the margin of the books which he was offered to read. So because he was reading, as he was not interested at all in reading, but things which he had observed were there somewhere in his mind. So they were in his mind, and he wanted to express them, and he started expressing through painting them, writing them in somewhere. Antiphonaries Mars means the side of the books, the pages which are left actually. He started painting there those images which actually he had experienced, he had seen. So this way his painting career started. That's what he's talking about. Joined legs and arms to the long music notes, found eyes and nose and chin for age and beats, and made a string of picture of the world between the ins and outs of the verbs announced on the wall, the bench and door. And he's talking about what actually he did. He joined legs and arms, long music notes, because he was offered everything like hymns, text, religious text, and the music also. So he started just matching here there. This is what children actually do when they don't take interest in reading. They start somewhere making this picture, that picture. Painting it starts from there. So this is what he's talking about. He started making legs, arms, joining them, long music notes, or he started making eyes, nose, chin, and all he found in those music notes, in those religious texts, and the antiphonaries march where he started painting. It's just his mind was actually not taking interest in reading, rather he was filled with the images, with the experiences, watching. He had done nothing but watched people experience thing, and that was carefully. That's why images were there in his mind, and he started painting this way. Okay, It's quite a simple an explanation. He's just describing his life, how he became a painter. The monks looked black. They could the prayer turned him out. They say in no wise, though the crow and catch a lark. And the case is that monks actually did not like him doing this, painting this, and making legs and arms and all. But ultimately they had to say okay, it's fine, because in other monasteries there used to be painters. So if he's not going to be a monk like person, he's not going to take interest in religious texts, at least he's going to be a painter to paint around monastery, the walls of, because in other monasteries the things were like that, so he can also be utilized in that manner. Because ultimately if you are there in monastery, so there was a job to be given to you, and other monks tried to find a job for him, but he was not taking interest in reading texts and all. But because he was taking interest in painting pictures, so they thought he can actually go for decorating walls of the monastery. This is what is happening here. What if at last we get our man of parts, we Carmelites like those Kamal Doji and preaching friars? He's being compared. They are actually Carmelites, and monasteries people Carmelites. Other monasteries people are like Kamal Doji and preaching friars. He's just simply talking about them, that in other monasteries people were painters. So we Carmelites also can be doing painting work, and this can be done by Fra Lippo Lippi. To do our church of fine. To do our church of fine means to paint it, to decorate it, and put the front on it that ought to be, and hereupon he bade me do above it. And this is what he's saying, that after noticing all such thing that I was doing, they thought okay, it's fine that he is not fit for religious texts and all. This is what is written here, lose a crow and catch a lark. He's saying it's fine if he's not fit for religious texts and reading and all, he can at least be utilized as a painter, because in other monasteries Camaldoli and preaching friars used to do all such things. So we also can use him as a painter, and he will make church fine, means he will decorate the church. Okay. Uh, Thank you, my head being cramped, the walls are blank, never was such from disembodied. First every sort of monk, the black and white, I drew them fat and lean, then four catchers. And he just started talking about how he started painting. He's saying that he disembodying, prompt disembodying means his mind was filled with so many pictures, everything, because he was a lot of experience. And here also he was just observing people, monks, how they used to look fat, lean, this, that. It's just he's interested in flesh, not in soul and text and reading books. That's what his nature is. So he started painting monks, this fat, lean, black, white on the walls and all, because ultimately he was given a job to paint. So he really enjoyed doing it, and that's what his painting career began there. Later we can go for the next page, but the thing is that you have always to keep in mind that Fra Lippo Lippi is trying to suggest this fact: the flesh is more important, because flesh represents beauty, and beauty, as John Keats himself says, beauty is truth. So this is what Fra Lippo Lippi also says somewhere. Robert Browning also suggests the same thing, that flesh matters, because this God has made this beautiful world. Why should we despise beauty? We should be appreciating it. This is what Fra Lippo Lippi says. We can continue in next lecture. Thank you.